Welcome everyone, and welcome back to Forward Operating Base Lake Fork. I am Greg Hill. I'm your host of your fishing show tonight. It was supposed to be during the day, but now it's tonight. Fished all day today, and came back, had to do a little work, and got basically the sun started going down in the middle of the first cut, so I had to kind of come back and redo this because it was just got too dark, and I was trying to press it. So here we are, trying to make the best of it. We got lights out, and I'm in the dark at Lake Fork. I'm hearing large bass attack stuff in the middle of the night out here, and that's just a kind of an indication of what's been going on this week. Wow, what a difference just a couple days made. You know, it got warm today. The temperatures at night are staying warm. You know, next thing you know, the fish are moving up on bed. You know, I'm finding more fish on bed now. I did a real quick cut today on the Instagram and on the Facebook page, and basically just showing that, you know, I just came out of the cove, and I found bedding fish that were singles. I found some doubles, and I found some that were just building their nest, just starting to build their nest. You know, I had one that was really big fish, nose down in there. He's digging around, trying to fan off his area, I think. You know, and you see his big tail coming up and stirring up the water a lot. So the fish are definitely in places on bed. You know, you go historically, you know, the very back of Caney Creek area, Birch Creek area, the places like that. You know, there's going to be a lot of pressure back there. You know, we had the Bassmasters tournament out here. There were kayaks everywhere. I wasn't up in Caney, but I was in Birch and in the other parts of the lake that saw the kayaks. And then someone told me that up in Caney that there were just 100 kayaks up there fishing. So, you know, look, the fish got a lot of pressure, and now it's kind of died down a little bit. And you'll be getting up during this week. If you get out here and fish during the week, usually it's a little better. So I'm going to start off just by saying that, you know, I started this week, you know, kind of struggling, you know, falling off from last week. Which, you know, if you saw my last week's fishing report, I wasn't even happy you have to make that fishing report. It's hard to make a fish report when you're saying you're really struggling and then you've had a 0. So, you know, that's, I mean, I wasn't very happy about that. This week is totally different. You're catching numbers of fish. I was very lucky to be able to take some veterans fishing this weekend. I had these two older gentlemen, and also some younger veterans, some ex-Army snipers, and they had a great time fishing. Now they had just started fishing, so, you know, I spent a lot of time doing some snags and getting some backlashes out of bait casters and things like that. But look, they were troopers, and they just kept pressing on, and they learned as they went along, and I was pretty happy. My other group got a PB at nighttime fishing. You know, we caught about 13 to 15 fish. I kind of lost count on a day trip, and then we went out at night and got a really big fish that was, you know, his personal best. I put pictures of that on my social media, so you guys have seen that. So I started off this week rough, and then just finished out with a bang. You know, going out yesterday, had a big fish, you know, 7.4, had a 7.2, you know, the night before. The day before we caught 13, 15 fish. You know, the biggest one was in like the 3.5 pound range. We lost 2 fish that day that were, one was well over 6 pounds, and the other one that I lost myself was, you know, almost 5 probably. And I'll tell you that story of how that happened a little bit later, but I just want to talk about the water temperatures and things like that. So the water's definitely warming up. The warmest I saw today was 64 degrees. I've heard it's warmer in some of the back of the other coves. You know, you look for those places that don't get a lot of wind movement. It's protected from that north wind. It's got a stable water mass. It'll heat up, and, you know, the darker bottoms even. But I'll tell you this: I noticed a trend today with a lot of where I saw bedding fish, and, you know, I've caught fish that were not out of the grass before. You know, a little further out, like on some big stump or something. But the fish today, all the fish I saw today that were on bed were definitely in grassy areas. And, you know, that water is just heated up faster. It gives them protection. And I think that what it also does, it's also planning for when the fry hatch. So, you know, look, when those fry hatch, they have to hide somewhere. You know, they're totally defenseless except for that male taking care of them. And, you know, and the people that come out here and fish frequently, and the guides that are out here that watch all the time, you know, as the spawn moves along, you're going to be seeing a male. You'll think he's on a bed. You'll throw at him. Next thing you know, he's moved over 5 feet, and he's not on a bed. but he's still being kind of protective. Well, if you look closely, you'll see a cloud of fry somewhere nearby, and he's basically ghosting those fry, and he's basically just, you know, looking around trying to protect them. So that grass allows for that. So I think, you know, them, by the bass picking those areas, they're already planning on what comes after just the hatch period. They're planning on what comes basically. So, you know, basically when the fry have to swim around and be protected also. It gives them better cover. So I'm going to go over the baits that I was using, and then talk a little bit about what I was seeing. You know, early I started off in the week fishing deeper water, 4 to 8 feet of water, and, you know, using jerk baits. I'm getting bit on jerk baits and some chatter baits and crankbaits. The soft plastics were only paying off every once in a while when I would flip it to, you know, a stump that I saw a fish on with my electronics, something like that. My clients, I kind of showed them how the live scope system worked, and we picked off some fish off of some trees, but the majority of our fish came by casting up onto some shallow flat points that were near the spawning area, and just keep working that area. You know, we had one area we stayed in for quite a while, and we just caught a fish here and a fish there and a fish here, but they were always kind of on that point, or if they weren't on the point, they were back right down in that gut. You know, we weren't having as much luck down in the gut like I had been having luck. Now it seems like they were coming up and feeding, coming back down, wanting to rest down there. They weren't biting when they were down there in the gut. I could watch on my electronics. So now today, all of a sudden, the areas I went to, all the big fish I caught were shallow. They were all, you know, 1 to 3 feet deep probably. It was all in warming water. Mostly I had a couple moving on a moving soft bait where I was kind of hopping it through the grass, hopping it across the grass and watch it fall off. And, you know, that's a big technique for people. You know, remember, if you're fishing these areas and you're fishing you throw near the bank, and there's that inside grass line, and then you got the grass, and you have the outside grass line. You can fish fish the whole thing. You know, if the fish are spawning up there, that's okay. There could be some big females hanging out in that grass that's not near the bed. They'll be out there. They're kind of just waiting. They're waiting for these males to get these beds ready for them. They're going to hang out in those areas, and they're going to be eating still. So they get aggressive. So, and I'll talk about some of the fish I caught on the different baits and how they reacted to them, so you guys can kind of look at them and kind of help determine what's going on with the fish. So I'll get right into some of the baits. You know, so look, earlier in the week, you know, we're throwing a flat-sided crankbait, you know, just like a golden shad colors, you know, and that's in the clear water with focusing with that. Now, if I got into the muddier water, now I was throwing like a bright red. It's kind of dark right here, so just looking at it to see the color, but that's a bright red crankbait, and you notice it's got a big lip on it. Now, I was throwing this big lip even though I was only in 4 feet of water, because I want that thing to dig down and then dig across the bottom and basically make it look like that crawfish that's darting across the bottom. And we got some bites doing that. So throwing the multiple kinds of chatterbaits. So I'm throwing the older chatterbait, I'm throwing the jackhammer, and I'm throwing the stealth blade. And there's a difference between all of them. I can feel the difference. You know, look, for me, the jackhammer doesn't start vibrating as quickly. It's got about the same beat, it seems. The jackhammer starts vibrating very quickly without having to jerk it to get it moving, and it's got that thump 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 thump, you know, kind of beat, that kind of regular thump 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 thump. You'll feel it. The stealth blade, which again is built for, you know, stingier water, skinnier water, clearer water. It's supposed to be like a finesse chatterbait. You know, you can see it's got the clear, you know, nose on it. It's got a much higher frequency. You know, it's like it's got a much different feel to it than the other two baits. And I've caught fish on all of them, so you know, right now I haven't really been able to say that there's a difference between them. And I'm going to do a video later on that kind of talks about that more specifically, but I'm throwing all three. You know, I'm throwing dark ones in darker water. In the clearer water, I'm going with more of the, you know, kind of the whites and the clear bait. So you see this one right here. It's basically just it's the stealth blade, but it's got just a tiny little kick blade on it. Now sometimes I'll take the tail, if I think it's giving too much action, I'll actually cut this tail off and just make it a straight tail. Now I took that one off that I had that was like that, but it's somewhere else here, but I don't want to dig it out to show it. But that's what I'm doing with a couple. So the other bites that I've had, this week, of course, is the big Senko, big green, 6-inch Senko, and throwing that in the grass, working it through the grass, throwing it in the bed. Got one on a bed bite doing that today. Look, Senkos are always good. They're soft, they're plastic, and they're going to get bit. Let's see here. The other, I already showed you. So then the other thing here is, so when I'm getting on the beds, I got just a couple baits I've really been throwing, and if I cycle through those, that's what happened today. So I'll just tell a story. So today, there's a gentleman I came into at Cove. He was already been in there. He'd been in there for a while, and he was working one side. He was obviously up on a fish because he was just pitching to it. I was working a grass line on the other side of the Cove, and I just kept working my back, and he moved off that fish and kept going, and we kind of met going back towards the back of the Cove, and we talked a little bit, and then as we came back up, I asked him, I said, hey, it's fine if I don't know if you're going to fish that fish, but if you're not, do you mind if I take some pitches at it? He's like, no, go ahead. I guess he'd spent a lot of time on those fish, and I guess he couldn't get the bite. So I'm pitching at fish that just had another person fishing on them for a while, I would assume, and I come through with these baits and I work them kind of in the way I do, and I got bit within 5 minutes. I caught the big one, which is over 7, and I caught the smaller one, was 5, and I caught another one, was 6. The baits can make a difference, I think, and they make a difference with a presentation. And not all those fish hit the same bait, so it wasn't like one bait was the answer. It seemed like there was you throw one, you see what they're doing, you're reacting to it, and then that's not going to work. So look, you can throw this. This is just what I'm throwing. It's a creature bait. He's got some pincers on it, but also can look like a bluegill, I think. And look, a lot of people are throwing the different white pocket crawls type bait. This is great if you're in the stingier, the darker water, milky, chocolate, and you see the fish in there, because quite frankly, you can see this bait easier. I was throwing on some fish that were really up in the shallow part, and they got themselves in some clear water, so I could see them hit this bait, and I could see my line moving. But in the water that's harder to see, of course, you can't. This kind of white pocket crawl type bait. And again, I don't really specifically talk about specific brands. I'm not sponsored by them, so I guess when they want to sponsor me, I'll start mentioning them by name. But some of them, you look at them, you can kind of tell it is, so I don't mind that. And then, so today, one of the bigger fish, not the biggest one. So I threw in the creature bait, no go, multiple times. Threw in the white crawl, no go. And then I have a 1 ounce football head jig, black, blue, purple trailer. You guys have seen this on some of my videos, even coming through the winter time. It's the same one I've been catching them on. I threw that in there, and both those fish went crazy. As soon as I threw it past there, about a foot past the bed, and it even had some grass on it. They was making them mad that this big thing was coming in their bed. They immediately started twitching and was trying to move over, and they didn't hit the first time. It took some multiple casts to get them to actually hit it, but man, they got mad immediately. So I knew right away I had the right bait. So I just pitched it, kept putting, and one of the times the male went by and I kind of popped him with it, made him hit it, made him angry. Next time I threw that in there, the male hit it, boom, and it's just kind of like you read about. It was a big fish. I pulled him out of there, take a picture, put it back in the water. I immediately get right back on the fish, throw the jig right back in there, and then I get the female. So just kind of how it worked out today. And that seems to be, even last year for some of my videos, you'd see that's exactly what I was doing too. I'm kind of almost mostly these same exact baits. So what a great week, I think. I had a great time taking these Army guys, these veterans fishing. Had a great time. Had a number of them here, and had a great time just talking and listening to stories and getting to know these young men that I hadn't met. And then being able to do some fishing on top of that, teach them some stuff. But the bottom line is the water's getting warmer. The water is very stable right now, for the levels, and I hope it stays that way. You're gonna have to go back to the back of these coves and really kind of figure out go back to the back of the coves and figure out, where you're going to commit some time. I spent some time today going back to places that are hard to get to. I mean, it took me a while. Matter of fact, I didn't take pictures of it. I should have some video. So I tried to go back to a place I hadn't been back in a long time. And it's got an old creek channel that goes back in there. It's way back in one of these creeks, way back in these guts. But the old big tree had fallen over the old creek line, so I tried to go around it. And that really wasn't the smartest thing to do. I mean, I guess I'm a Marine, so I'm kind of stubborn. But I got it in there, and just my bottomed out a little bit. I'm still using my trolling motor to pull me in. And I thought, I just got to get over this little spot right here, and it's going to be okay. Once I get back in that little creek, perfect. I don't have to worry about it. I'm going to be able to fish that whole area that nobody else is getting into. It's like probably untouched bass. There's probably a world record sitting back on there as far as I know. But that's not how it worked out. I spent an hour and a half, got stuck. I'm wading in the water. I'm looking for alligators, I'm stuck up. I didn't really get any deeper than my knee because the front of the boat had gotten over the blade. The back of the boat was stuck into place. So I'm back there doing football lifts. I'm doing crunches to try to lift the boat up and get it that last foot. I tried, and I could not get it to happen. So now I'm stuck, and now I got to somehow turn the boat around and get it back out of this thing. I'm on this stuck point. That's all I did. I just got the boat, I shoved it, and I floated it around and got the front turned around. And then I had to redo the whole process. I'm picking the whole thing up, basically, and inching it an inch at a time, and a crunching to get an inch, and a crunching to get an inch, and then I finally got out of there. There's two guys back here in another boat laughing at me, most likely. They came by. They came by and asked me if I needed help. I politely said no, and said I would, get it out myself because I got it into myself. But they were laughing at me. I know they had to be laughing at me. I'd be laughing at myself. I was laughing at myself, and I did it. And I would definitely be laughing at somebody else that tried to do that. But look, just be careful out there. Lake Fork's a great place, but I was only in thigh to knee deep water. There's probably not too many chances an alligator getting me back in there. But let me just tell you, you're in that water barefoot, and you're thinking about alligators when you're doing it. You keep your head on the swivel. So anyway, if I was fishing up this next week, if I was coming out to Lake Fork, I would definitely be going back and trying to find grassy areas that are protected from the north wind, that don't have a lot of water moving through them anymore. It's basically the water temperature is stable and the level is stable. I would like a place that has grass where there's an inside line and an outside line. I would like something in the 2 to 3 foot range that's in that kind of flat area, grassy flat. And I want this grass floating on the top. I don't want just the grass that's submerged. I want some floating older grass even that's sitting there. I want something that's going to warm up and keep that water warm for the bass. So, and then I would pitch and flip at it right now. You can still catch the pre-spawns out in the gut, and I'm going to do some of that in the morning. But once you get past that point, just go back. If you got the wind, if it doesn't have a wind, you can sight fish. That's what I would be doing. So throw some, throw those chatterbaits, throw them out there away from the grass, throw them on the grass lines, flip into that grass, with the different creature baits and the white one. And look, you know, some people, I did it when I did it on Saturday with one of the veterans I was with. We just went down the bank. I said, look, we're going to keep moving until I see a fish, because I'm going to try to pick a big fish out, and we did. We found 2 fish. Now, we found the fish, we caught the one, but we also hooked into another one, the female that was nearby with my client. He was just flipping out there, and next thing you know, he sets the hook into one, and it comes up out of the grass like an explosion, 10 feet from the boat. So, look, it's been a great week. I've had a great week fishing, and I look forward to this week. It's a kind of, you know, this is what stories. I think this next week's going to what stories are written about for bass fishing out here. So, hey, I'm Greg Hill. This is Forward Operating Base Lake Fork. You know, I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great time out here fishing. If you like my videos, please just, you know, like me, subscribe, and go to my Facebook and like it. I will say again, I have some trips. I have some days. I'm running out of days in March, but you know, I can, you know, just send me a message and see if it works out. I have days open in April though, and I think April's going to be great. So send me a request or call me. All my numbers on my social media stuff. Just go to my website and you can get in contact with me that way. Send me an email and let's set up a date to go fishing, night fishing. Like I said, I just put that picture on the other night. That customer caught or he's not a customer. He was one of the veteran guys that came over. I just had him come fishing with me, and basically he just, you know, he caught his personal best that night. It was an awesome fish. So, and again, it's exploded right near the through the boat. So, if you're looking to come stay out at Lake Fork, also remember I've got my Airbnb. It's Lake Fork Hideaway. You can go Airbnb and look for it there, or you can just go to my website again, www.FOBLakeFork.com. Stands for Forward Operating Base, lakefork.com. And then basically just go to the links down there, and it'll take you to the Airbnb link, and you can see if there's open dates for you. So I guess that's about it. It's been a great week for me. I had a great time fishing with the people I did. I look forward to this next week. You guys go out there and do some fishing. If you're coming out to Lake Fork and you haven't fished a lot, I still recommend to go out there and get a bait caster in your backyard. Do like I did when I was a kid. Put a coffee can out there and pitch and flip at it. Try to get good, because when you come here to Lake Fork during the spawn time, you know, you have to be able to put that bait in a very small spot and do it quietly, or you might spook off the fish of a lifetime catch for yourself. So, you know, and if you can't do it, your guides probably kind of do it for you if you can't do it yourself. So that's what I do a lot for people. So anyway, again, Greg Hill, Forward Operating Base Lake Fork. You guys have a great night. Take care. This is what happens when you try to get back to the hard to reach fishing spots. I'm pretty stuck pretty well. It's taking me about 30 minutes already, but I'll get it undone. But it's just a big waste of time, and I wish I could just get it out of here. Alright, so I'm doing the same thing that I've been doing here in a while. So you guys can see I'm setting up, and I've found some bedded fish, and just caught one really nice one. There's a couple more here. So, you know, really, I got just a couple baits, and I'll have that in my fishing report of what I'm throwing. You know, I just kind of work these series of baits. I've been using them for a couple years, and it's just really something that I can count on. Like that fish, there was another person that was fishing this for quite a while. They passed by it, I came back behind them, and I caught this fish on the third lure, and it was immediate reaction when I threw that lure in there. So, and I'll talk about that in a bit, but I got 2 more right up here. Let's just see if we can't catch them. Whew. All right, that's a nice fish. That's 2 good ones. About another, probably 8-pounder. Okay, so again, I started off with a jig and ended up going to the trailer that I'll show in my fishing report. But not a great fish. I'm gonna weigh this one.